Nothing in the Tai Yang breakdown is new, really, technique-wise. It's just a little sort of flow that is traditional. Probably be good. Don't want a copyright ding on YouTube for copyrighted music in the background. The one new thing for you is trying to travel. The Tai Yang breakdown starts up here at the top of the torso, and we work all the way down and out the feet. Speaking of which, do you mind to kick your shoes off for me while I'm talking? So to move that far down the table requires me to step. I can't reach her feet. So there's no secret. If you're walking, you can't step with the leg that's holding you up. So I can't step with this leg when my weight's forward. I have to move this one. So if I'm in a front to back stance, every single time I shift my weight, I sneak over a tiny little bit with whichever foot isn't holding me up. So if I'm doing rolling and I want to travel, I can't just be here moving, or I won't go anywhere. I've got to be wobbling my feet. And even with this table, I'll move some stuff here. I may run into trouble. I want to make sure that I can get my leg up under the table if I'm going to do this so that I can travel. But if I'm starting here and I'm walking down, I'm moving my feet over a little bit at a time with each stroke to get down the spine. We haven't talked about the hip. We're going to spend more time on it tomorrow. But traditionally in the Tai Yang breakdown, we roll all the way down the paraspinals and we roll the hip. And then we switch as we get to the leg. So when I get to the hip, I'm going to follow the lateral border of the sacrum down. You may not remember the sacrotuberous ligament, but it runs from the tip of the coccyx down to the ischial tuberosity. So I'm going to follow that path. And then I'm actually going to loop back around so that I pass through all the glutes. And when I hit the sacrum again, I cut through the center of my circle to go down over piriformis. So I'm making this little circle and then slashing through it to finish out the hip. You don't necessarily have to follow that pattern, but it makes sure that I hit kind of all of the important areas in the hip with each pass. So a typical kind of Tai Yang breakdown pass is going to go from here down the lateral aspect there, the erector spinae, I should say. I'm going to get to the hip. I'm going to make my little loop. And I'm moving slightly faster than I might in a massage, but it doesn't have to be super long. And we're just trying to get the body warmed up. When I get to the leg, I switch to my grasping. Now you can do two-handed at the same time if you like. I prefer the alternating, so that's what I tend to do. But we'll talk about both when I come back up. Technically, we like to continue that all the way down the lateral blade of the foot and out that pinky toe. That's where the bladder channel ends. So then I'd come back up to the top. That's pass number 1. And I do that 3 times. On the second pass, when I get to the leg, I'm focusing more on the center of the leg instead of that lateral aspect. I kind of break it up into thirds. So if I were to do two-handed grasping, I wouldn't have to change my stance. I just use 2 hands and keep that front to back rock going. That's easier probably if you're just learning, but I like the alternating. I tend to switch. Do my little pinch. That's pass number 2. Come back to the top. Start again. The pinky toe. Yep. The bladder channel ends at the lateral corner of the pinky toenail, technically. So 3 passes. Circle through the hip. If you're doing this with clothing, it's easy enough to do this. If you're doing this with sheets, then you either have to center drape or kind of break it up into sections. But there's lots of ways to make that work. Grasp down that medial third, pinch and work my way out the pinky toe. Then I'm going to move to my alternating pushes. If you prefer the same side of the spine, then you can certainly stick to the same side of the spine. I tend to reach across and do the alternate side. Just my habit. It's not really set in stone. She's got some crunchies I'm paying attention to. I would come back and work if we were doing a full treatment. When I get to the hip, I push across and down that lateral border of the sacrum, and as soon as I hit the leg, I'm back to my grasping. And the first pass, I want to focus on this lateral aspect, and I'm doing the same shuffle. The principle about moving one foot at a time, a little each time I shift my weight, is still true. So when I'm in my left leg, my right foot's free, it shifts over. When I'm on my right leg, I bring my left foot with me. Just a little step. The middle grasping pass, my second pass, I'm working straight down the back of the leg. Work my way down. The Tai Yang breakdown isn't about heavy work. I'm warming up her body. I'm getting her relaxed enough to let me do more work. And I'm feeling for where she needs that work. So it's not a ton of pressure. The rocking and moving of the body is kind of more important. And I'm just sort of testing out, where is everything tight? Where is everything, moving? Where should I spend more time working? So 3 passes rolling, 3 passes alternating pushes. Then, of course, you'd have to come over here and repeat those 6 passes. I'm going to leave her crooked and not do that for the sake of time. After that, it's a lot more flexible. It's all somewhat flexible. All we're doing is going for that slightly out of it, relaxed sort of state. I tend to switch and do some of our cat's paw pushing down kind of stuff after that. If the person is still not relaxed after all those, 12 passes or whatever it is that we've made, 3 of each down both sides. And then most people by that point are chilled out. If they're not, pick your next favorite technique. Spend a little bit of time. As long as you're working paraspinal musculature as part of that, you're going to get that parasympathetic Tai Yang breakdown response. Sometimes I start with rocking. Sometimes I save rocking for the end. Sometimes I don't do rocking at all. If it's a brand new patient, I almost always start with rocking. But not always. If it's somebody that's got a 30-minute session and I'm trying to cover a lot of ground, rocking may get skipped. But it's a wonderful one to use here in the Tai Yang breakdown as well. Officially, you're supposed to end the Tai Yang breakdown or any bodywork session with that brushing or wiping. That's their favorite way to end. And traditionally, they would make those same 3 passes all the way down and out the leg, come back to the top. So I would do that on both sides of the body 3 times. She's going to be walking in circles. If you work lotion on the skin, a lot of times I'll just roll the sheet back to here, work the upper part, close that, and then work down the leg. Repeat that on the far side.